In the absolute universe, the light of a Green Lantern isn't a gift, it's a survival mechanism. Absolute Green Lantern number 14 just took us into the icy absolute zero of deep space, where Jo Mullein and Tomar-Re aren't just fighting the Black Stars. They're fighting a cosmic horror that makes the Guardians look like a fairy tale. Today, we are breaking down the terrifying truth behind Mogo, the black hole infection, and why this issue might have just changed the rules of willpower forever. So, this issue opens up how we're used to seeing the absolute Green Lantern with the 4 sections. But this one is solely focused on Hal Jordan, the unknown. For Hal has become the unknown level of light. And it is here we finally see the whole gang: Guy Gardner, John Stewart, Jo Mullein, and of course, Hal Jordan. And we realize that Tomar-Re beamed Hal and Joe aboard the Lantern, which not only acts as a vessel, but it also connects the space between them and the presence of Oa. However, John and Guy are more concerned with Hal's new color. After all, he wasn't glowing that color the last time they saw him. Jo tries her best to catch John and Guy up on everything that has been happening, including telling them about Todd Rice, who is actually alive. And it's kind of crazy to hear so many names that we are used to seeing and hearing as being Green Lanterns. But Jo is still struggling to understand where they are, as it looks like they're just floating in nothingness. The lantern is a gateway to the presence of Oa, but they are also still in the lantern. Because, I mean, sure, that makes sense. Back on Earth, however, Cam and Simon are back outside the garage, wondering what happened to Hal and Joe. Because for all they know, they saw them get beamed up and then nothing. But they aren't going to have too much time to think on it, as they are quickly surrounded by Hammond's men. However, they have no plans of being taken so easily. The bullets start flying, and of course, the bad guys have stormtrooper aim. However, Cam and Simon are getting some hits on them, even though it doesn't seem to be slowing them down. They need to escape, but they can't leave Todd there. God knows what they will do to him this time. Cam takes the keys, and Simon gets Rice. And as he's held at gunpoint by the men, one of them makes a comment about how he's fine and the bullets just left a little bruise. And so I have to assume at this point, like, they know each other, because otherwise it's just a really kind of random thing to bring up. Or could it just be the plot giving Simon some extra time for this, as Cam comes crashing through the wall, taking the guards out? But the one thing I don't get is, why is the car getting so much hate from Cam? From far away, the car looks to be in good shape and got the blower scoop on it. And as you know, Simon points out, it's bulletproof, right? You could take a howitzer. But with all this going on, you'd think that would be enough. However, Cam still seems distracted. She is worried about Joe, and she isn't the only one that's worried. Finally, we see Tomar-Re appear, telling Joe they are off to stop Mogo. And this is where we can see Joe still cares for Cam too, because she doesn't want to leave her. However, going back isn't an option. They must keep going forward. And it's weird, because he says they're going to kind of slingshot around Rand's star. So, to think about something going that fast, because they're already basically to the next star, that they're going to slingshot around it to gain more speed. I mean, usually that star would have to be orbiting like a large center of mass like itself, such as like a galactic center, for it to be able to slingshot at that kind of speed. But who knows? It's the absolute Green Lantern universe. And Joe's ready for some backstory as Tomar-Re tells of what happened to his world when Mogo came. How everything that mattered to him was gone in an instant the day the Black Star arrived. And it's kind of weird because, obviously Mogo is a sentient planet and he is a black star, but the way it always kind of like they portray it is like he is the Black Star, but then we see the Black Stars come into fight. So a little confusing, but we're going to get there. We're going to gain some understanding. And we see the Green Lantern floating overhead on Tomar's world for what we now know is gathering up people to test which order of light they belong to and who could help fight against the Black Stars. And of course, we see Tomar-Re as a child. He had kind of a similar experience acquiring his power as Jo did, except he took his power, his flame, they seem to call it, from his mother, as she was the one it was given to from the lantern, from the presence of Oa. But that was the last moments they had together. 3,000 of his people were still in the Owen space to command different flames. And they were all killed, apparently, because he says they're all gone, all except him. So he, of course, killed back. And as he grew, not only in his power, but in his body, he became, he got older and older. His power grew, killing Black Star after Black Star, but never strong enough to go after Mogo. But now he has a Tomar of the Green Order of Light. He had been waiting for that. That and an actual Green Lantern? Sure, we'll go with that. So he could take it to Mogo and kill him. But it is interesting that he calls the lantern a weapon because if you remember before, he called it a gun. So if it's the gun, what are the bullets? It's people he's seemingly collected, others within the different orders of light, because we kind of see them off in the background. They kind of look a little, they all seem to be the same color. We don't know if that's just how it's being portrayed or if they are of that particular order of light. And of course, John has no intentions of letting him sacrifice all of those people. But he may not have a choice. And right on cue, they have made it to the Ran star. I'm assuming it's the star around the planet Ran there. And the Black Stars are there to intercept the lantern. Now, if you remember from the previous issue that took place on Ran, we see this kind of at the end, right? Like we kind of get all the backstory of what happened there, and then they're going out to stop the lantern. So like we can just kind of caught up. We've got the Tarantino kind of viewpoint of it now. We had to go back a little bit to catch up. And the team is ready to fight. Well, all but Jo. Jo has a little bit of a headache. And I swear, man, if I had a nickel for every time a woman had a headache when it came to the important stuff, I'd have at least 10 cents. Now, the interesting part here is we know in this universe, red is the restraint level in the order of light to Oa. And is weaker than green. It is just below, like you have Black Star, you have the red, you have green, and then of course you have the gold. However, it doesn't always mean the red individuals, the commanders of the red flame, the red order of light showing restraint, as we see Tomar restraining Jo, or at least parts of her mind. He's going to control her and use the green level of light as his weapon. And Jo reminds him of what we just went over, of the different orders of level of light, that green obviously is more powerful. But he is kind of quick to point out something interesting, because in the minds of Oa, green is stronger. But to the Black Stars, red is stronger because they see the order as reversed. But now it's Jo asking the question we've heard asked so many times throughout this series. Have you ever suffered? And she delivers a massive space uppercut to him. But we're going to have to wait till the next issue to find out what happens. All right, guys. So that does it for issue number 14 of Absolute Green Lantern here. We're starting to kind of get a little more understanding, right? Like things are kind of starting to piece together a little more. We're getting a little more backstory. So we're slowly getting there and figuring out what they're doing with the different orders of light and how like this actually works. So it is definitely getting better. It was a little slow to kind of start with, and we just didn't have a whole lot of information, because I will say of all of them, this seems to be the more radical twist on the character of everything else thus far in the Absolute universe. Just because, yes, we have seen these colors come in to the different visual spectra or in the visual spectrum in the normal Green Lantern series, but the way they're doing this one here is it's very, very unique. Let me know down in the comments, how are you feeling about this one? Are you enjoying the Absolute Green Lantern? If not, what is your favorite in the Absolute universe? Because we do cover them all. And while you're doing that and letting me know how you feel, you might as well go ahead and give the video a like, subscribing to the channel, and having the bell notifications clicked because you will get alerted each time we release a new one, not only in the comic book world, but everything in the DCU and just overall DC news, period. And stay tuned because on May 20th, Absolute Green Arrow is coming, and I will be at least doing the initial ones, depending on how that's if that's going to be a ongoing series. I'll probably keep on doing it because, as you guys know, I do love Green Arrow. So be on the lookout for that. That's why you need to have that bell notification click, guys. And that is going to do it for me on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, guys, I'll see you then.